This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
Hey everyone, this is Austin.
What's going on, guys? This is John.
And you're listening to the Voice of the Fan Sports Podcast. All right, John. We're back.
It's been a while since I talked to you, my friend.
I'm depressed. Obviously.
Yeah, we're gonna have to really coddle Austin and try to cheer him up during this podcast.
Losing your two best players in one play is just, I don't really know how to. I don't have words. Really, no words to describe what that was like. You know, seeing Sindelar go down, and then their camera's like up. They're like, "Oh yeah, Rondell Moore's down too."
By the way, your best receiver's hurt.
Yeah, and then they keep showing the clip over and over of how he got hurt, and that hyperextension of his knee is just, But apparently, it's only a week-to-week injury. He won't play against Penn State, but he'll be back. Sindelar had surgery on his collarbone, so he's probably out.
Yeah, he's donezo, unfortunately.
Yeah, which stinks for him. But this is not the Purdue podcast; it's the Michigan State podcast. Obviously, probably a little closer than it needed to be. Probably a lot closer than it needed to be. But Michigan State got the win against Indiana. Thank you. As a Purdue fan, but it wasn't pretty.
What I'm going to lead with is something I haven't said on this show yet, Austin. Are you ready for this? Thank you, offense.
Wow, I was about to say, should we record that? But
I was going to say we might want to cut that out and have Connor make that as a drop and just inject it into my veins.
Injected into straight to the dome.
I honestly to see our defense struggle was very annoying, but to see our defense or offense go out and score 34 points, and should have put more because Coughlin's kicking struggles continued. He missed a field goal, but he made 2 out of 3, and then made the chip-in shot to win the game, the most important one. So, but like Austin said, a lot closer than it should have been. Austin, do you think I should start with the bad or the good? How should we roll with this?
Really whatever you want to do. I started with the bad because there was a lot of it, and I wanted to end on a happy-ish note.
You know what? I like where you're going with that. We're going to start with the bad.
Okay.
I'm just going to start right here. 33 of 42, 286 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Michael Penix Jr. No interceptions thrown. I don't think we forced a turnover till late. Rush defense was okay. Stevie Scott had 18 carries for 66 yards, busted a couple for 10, so really held them in check. But man, Whoop Filer, Fillier? You want to pronounce his name? You guys play Indiana a bunch.
No, but I don't really care. So
yeah, that's true. He had a huge game against us last year, but he topped that. He had 14 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Donovan Hale is a big boy. He had 7 receptions, 99 yards, and a touchdown. So not the best day for our secondary. Whether it was them or it was more so scheme and how annoying our coaching staff is at times, where we just decide, our scheme's right no matter what. We're not going to adjust to what you guys are doing. You want to throw screens all day and get 8 yards of play and 5 yards of play and just drive down us all, take 10 minutes every drive and just get a touchdown, go ahead. Go right for it. It's pretty much what I felt like our defensive coordinator was saying. The sad thing is the corners tackled really well in space, so I would have loved to see a little more press in your face coverage to kind of get them to, maybe try to throw it deep a little more, which they ended up doing late in the game, and it didn't work. So I don't know. It was just so frustrating to watch, Austin, knowing they were running the same 3 plays, but it was working. And it's I get if that's what's going to work for them, great. But can we at least attempt to adjust to stop it? I think, and to Penix Jr.'s credit, and to Austin's not going to want to hear this, I think Indiana's found their quarterback for the next 3 years after this season. He's good. He is a lefty who can really put some. He can throw the ball. Got some arm strength. He's needs to work on some accuracy, but he gets out of the pocket well, Austin, and he can sling that thing when he needs to. So obviously a talented kid there. But look, if you're going to want to even attempt to compete against Ohio State, you have to play better on defense against Indiana. Obviously, you have a whole week to prepare for Michigan State or Ohio State and Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins and that, powerhouse Ohio State has. But you have to play more than a perfect game against Ohio State. So if you're going to have a slip-up game as a defense, I would rather see it against an Indiana team where your offense is capable of carrying you, which is weird to say, and winning the game. But, I mean, other than Joe Bocci, guys got to show up. Kenny Willekes, he's getting a lot more attention, I think that's fair to say, Austin, from other teams' O-lines. A lot more double teams and throwing different things at him, having a running back on that side, tight end. Raequan Williams has been good, but he's gotten some untimely penalties. Panashuk has been a stud. But it's guys got to step up, man. And a team that's been pretty inconsistent all year, it is not what I wanted to see going in against an Indiana team was 3-1, but I mean, I don't think they're really that good yet. So obviously, I'm not going to spend too much time on the negatives because as Spartan fans, we all know what it is. And anytime we play a team that wants to dink and dunk it on us, they're going to have a field day on us, regardless of who it is. We were able to stop Northwestern. Like Austin said on the Purdue pod, their offense is abysmal. Maybe that's why they didn't dink and dunk us, probably because they couldn't. But it's just – as a football fan, Austin, like of your team, is there anything more annoying than an offense that is just literally getting 4 yards a play and just like literally you can't stop it? Like I feel like there's nothing that makes me want to rip my hair out more when I watch that.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's tough, and I think we've talked about before the what could beat the Michigan State defense was the side to side quick stuff, neutralize the pass rush, get the ball out fast, and I think Indiana, that's what their identity is, and we kind of saw that against Michigan State, but I think as a Spartans fan, you want all these mistakes to happen right now at home against Indiana where you still won.
And you have film now on what went wrong before Ohio State.
Versus falling apart. Yeah, you don't want to fall apart against Ohio State and get super embarrassed.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. You have film now. You can watch things, try to clean some things up. Josiah Scott didn't have a good day either. Given the poor kid's 5'10", and the receiver he was on all game was like 6'5". But so talk about the positives here. Also, we're going to go to the offensive side of the ball. Am I allowed to do this?
It's new territory, but it's still fun.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I don't even know offense was a thing anymore. I'm pretty confident in saying Michigan State, the offense is not back to what it was in prior years when they were really good, but it is making strides of becoming a offense where I don't have to just clench my fist every time we get the ball and be nervous about every time we do anything. We got a little running game going. Brian Lewerke is having himself probably the best start to his career in any of his seasons that he's played so far. He's leading the Big Ten in passing yards. This last game did not help his completion percentage, which is now at 59.8. But Austin, I think the big thing to look at here is he has 10 touchdowns to 1 interception, and he's only been sacked 4 times.
That's big. That's a big deal.
And
large deal.
And the sack number impresses me because has not really been the O-line. He is getting out of the pocket. He looks more confident. The thing that drives me nuts is he is so good in tempo, Austin, but we refuse to play there all the time. And I get it. You don't want your defense on the field all the time, but when we're not in tempo, it feels like we're going 3 and out anyways. So it's like the offense or the defense coming back on the field regardless. But it's like a whole different. It's like watching Lions fans watching Joey Harrington and getting like a Matthew Stafford, like that big of a talent gap between up tempo Brian Lewerke and huddle, Brian Lewerke. So, but really not a lot of complaints about him. The only thing that drives me nuts about this offense is it feels like everybody else in the country has figured out how to get big plays off of crossing routes, and yet I feel like every single pass we throw is a 50-50 ball, which is whatever. But it's like, guys, can we get some like big plays going other than like a deep ball 50-50 Darryl Stewart going up and grabbing it? So obviously baby steps, right? I can't ask for too much. There's progress. We have a running back. As much as I'm sure Connor Hayward is a great kid, great person, tough football player, I am glad that I do not have to see him come in 4th and 1 just because he is big and not find the gap and just kind of like crumble and not be able to get a yard. And so I think you're going to see a lot of Elijah Collins. Obviously, he's the number 1 running back, and I think you're going to start seeing some Anthony Williams Jr., who we've heard about all summer. He's been sidelined with pink eye. He's played a little bit, but I guess he had a bad case of pink eye. So the one game he played a lot against Western, his eye was like swollen shut. So that might explain some things.
Oof.
But other than that, so Elijah Collins obviously has been a huge surprise. Redshirt freshman. Heard a little bit about him during the summer, but I know the couple shows we did during the summer, the name I kept bringing up out of camp was Anthony Williams Jr. and not Elijah Collins. But right now, Austin, redshirt freshman, 70 attempts, 413 yards. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry, which is a nice number, and he's got 3 touchdowns. And the thing I think is huge for him, and things that we did not see at all last year, he had a 58-yard run as his longest run. He's had some chunk plays. And that was a stat that they showed in the game against Indiana. I think Michigan State at one point going into the third quarter, like 7 plays for 20-plus yards, which, as Austin unfortunately tortured himself with last year, watched a lot of Michigan State football, and I don't think we had maybe 2 all year probably. So it's nice to see you have guys who can make plays. Do I love the scheme? No. Do I still see a lot of last year in the play calling? Yes. But I think Brian Lewerke being healthy, I think your receiving core being healthy for the most part, minus Jalen Naylor, I think the O-line not being healthy, but the same unit is on the field, I think everything is able to gel more, and you're able to get more of a rhythm, and like I said, your quarterback is healthy, which is the most important thing, and we're seeing what Brian Lewerke can do while healthy. And you're getting a lot of contribution from your tight ends in these last few weeks, which is, I brought that up a couple weeks ago before we played Arizona State. So, shout out to Matt Seibert. He literally left Buffalo, where he was a solid tight end, full ride, to walk on at Michigan State just to play here. And he caught 2 touchdowns against Northwestern, caught a touchdown against Indiana, and they gave him a scholarship. So it's a good story there.
Nice.
Yeah. Long-haired ginger. I love seeing his red hair flow when he's running down the field. But who was that? Didn't you guys have that cool tight end from last year that committed?
Yeah.
Has he played?
No, he has not yet. True freshman. It's he's
seen a lot of those, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's just he's a good route runner. Still needs to do some blocking work, from what I heard. They dress, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see him. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure.
But yeah, Elijah Collins, obviously I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's your running back for the next 3 to 4 years. Connor Hayward gone. No more of the 24 attempts, 79 yards for 3.3 yards per carry. So you're gonna, like I said, Anthony Williams Jr. is going to be a name to keep your eye out for. And Ladarius Jefferson's obviously going to get some carries. Kind of curious to see if none of those guys work out, if we see a little bit of Brandon Wright, the true freshman that me and Austin loved on film, the more of a bigger back, but I think they're comfortable with redshirting him and kind of just letting Elijah Collins roll. And it was nice to hear D'Antonio in the press conference about Connor Hayward, Austin, say that we have our number 1 running back, and that's what we're going to roll with. It's nice to finally hear D'Antonio say that instead of this running back by committee, whoever has the hot hand BS. So I think that should give Elijah Collins a little sense of security and maybe a little confidence boost and go from there. Lewerke's rushing numbers on the year aren't too shabby either. 37 attempts for 147 yards, 4 yards per carry. Other than that, really no one to talk about rushing wise. Receiving wise, with Rondell Moore, unfortunately, for Austin, going down with an injury. While he's out, I will confidently say I think Darrell Stewart is the best wide receiver in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can't argue against it right now.
Yeah, and Michigan State seems to always find that senior wide receiver who's kind of just been lurking in the shadows, has had solid seasons, and just explodes his senior year. Felton Davis was that guy last year. Austin might remember these guys. Michigan State fans definitely will. Aaron Burbridge, a few years back, and then Tony Lippett, who is a defensive back in the NFL. But just some guys that have come out of nowhere and end up winning Big Ten wide receiver of the year and stuff like that. Darrell Stewart is leading the Big Ten in receptions with 35, and he has 556 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cody White is still there. He was the guy I would kind of expect to have the year that Darrell Stewart's having, but I am pleasantly surprised with Darrell Stewart. Kind of playing himself maybe into some NFL consideration. I don't really see a lot of NFL in his future, but I mean, hey, if he keeps improving and making plays, I mean, the team's going to give him a shot. Then Matt Siebert, who has really come out of nowhere at tight end. I think he was 4th on the depth chart, Austin, coming into spring ball. And now he is listed as the co-starter with Matt Dotson. He's got 11 catches for 133 yards and 3 touchdowns in like 4 games.
I mean, Michigan State's like the king of finding these random ass dudes and like turning them into studs, or they were already studs. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Jack Conklin. Le'Veon Bell was a 2-star recruit. It's crazy how many diamonds in the rough they find. You kind of like, man, we can't recruit, and then you're like, oh yeah, we got this guy now.
I mean, Kenny Willekes.
Yep, Kenny Willekes. Joe Bocci was a 3-star guy. And he's probably one of the best linebackers I've seen at Michigan State. So, but a guy I really want to see more of is Julian Barnett, the true freshman that was a cornerback but now seems to be wide receiver. He also had pink eye because he's roommates with Anthony Williams Jr. Come on, guys, wash your hands.
It's so funny. It's funny in a
weird thing.
Way.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, guys.
Yes, it is. No, I understand completely.
Hey, sorry,
it's super...
my 2 freshmen are out with pink eye. But Julian Barnett, he has 2 catches on the year, but that one catch was a 29-yard huge catch against Arizona State. They kind of just threw it to him on a slant route, and he just took off. Made a couple guys miss, showed a lot of shiftiness, so really would just love to see more of him. But and then you got your boy Lewerke showing up in the box score for receptions, 1 for 17 yards. Look at him go.
Nice.
And then other than that, though, in the Indiana game, Matt Coughlin, 10 for 15 on the year after being first team All Big Ten. Struggling a little bit. Nailed a 47-yarder against Indiana to tie it. And then I don't know if it was a tie or bring us within like 4. And then he obviously kicked the chip shot to win. Real quick, Joe Bocci is having a phenomenal year. He's got 47 tackles so far, 24 solo. He's got 1.5 sacks. He's got an interception, 5 pass deflections, and no forced fumbles or anything like that. But he just is all over the field, Austin. And another guy I think who's playing himself more and more onto and moving himself up on people's big boards when it comes to the draft. I guess Kenny Willekes is actually having himself a quiet little year. 34 tackles, 4 sacks.
And that's good considering all the attention he keeps getting. Yeah.
So Raekwon Williams at D tackle has 3.5 sacks. So that's positive to see. Panishuk's got 2 sacks. Obviously, we'd like to see a little more sacks and stuff like that, but just got to continue to do what they do on defense. I think they'll be fine. A kid that is quietly having a great year is Antoine Simmons. I think he's like 7th or 8th in the nation in tackles for loss at the outside linebacker position for Michigan State. He's only a sophomore, I think. He might be a junior, actually. Let me confirm that. Why do I not know that off the top of my head? Come on. Yeah, he's a junior, unfortunately. I forgot he played as a true freshman. But yeah, he had like 3 tackles for loss against Indiana last week, and he just seems to explode on the play. Real quick here, I mean, where do we even start, Austin, with this Ohio State game?
That's a great question. Because I don't know.
I think I'm going to spend 2 minutes on it. Look, Ohio State, in my opinion, is the best team in the country right now from what I've seen. Justin Fields is a stud. They got J.K. Dobbins, another NFL player. The receivers are always, regardless if they're NFL talent or not, they always find a way to get open, especially with Ryan Day making the calls, play calling guru. They're going to get open. Ohio State's going to score 25-plus points on you, and I'd bet a decent amount of money on that. I'm like 99.9% sure that'll happen. So, I mean, this offense is going to have to score some points also on a Ohio State defense that not a lot of people talk about that has Chase Young, Jeffrey Okudah, a good linebacking core, other NFL caliber cornerbacks. It's got the recipe for disaster, but the one thing I will point out before we head to the pick'ems and the other run the horn stuff, and I got one interesting topic I want to touch base with you on, but is a couple years ago, 2016, I believe it was, when Michigan State made the playoff. Michigan State played two backup quarterbacks in Ohio State, held Ezekiel Elliott to 2.2 yards per carry, and won with just having 94 passing yards in Columbus, night game, 17-14 to go to punch their ticket to the Big Ten championship. It's going to need one of those kind of days where everything weirdly goes your way. Defense is going to have to perform out of their minds better than they have before. Lewerke is going to have a game of his life. The one thing I will say to Michigan State fans is we're not winning the Big Ten this year, as Austin predicted. Austin did give me some hope, and it was some fun hope until we played Arizona State. But don't be discouraged if we lose 42-24, 42-17. I think the game you really want to keep your eye on is next week at Wisconsin, see what you can do against them. I think Ohio State is just that talented this year, Austin. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they're Ohio State, very, very good.
Yeah,
very good football team.
Obviously want other team to compete the best they can, but good luck, boys. Good luck. There's really not even a match. So I mean, it's just Ohio State is so good. I'm worried. Obviously gonna watch. Obviously be reading these guys on. Man, I really love this group of guys that we have on the team. They're really fun to watch. Really a lot of personality on the team, and it seems like I enjoy these teams more and more, like personality wise. As every season goes on. Maybe that's more because social media is becoming more and more immersive and everything to where we can literally, watch what they're doing. But it's been fun. So obviously hoping for the best for this team. Would love to see them somehow go 9-3, 10-2. I think 9-3 is realistic. I think you can expect Michigan State to win one of the Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, or Michigan games. I feel like that's not an unrealistic thing to think. Actually,
yeah, I agree.
They have to win two of those. But, actually, no, they would. Yeah, they would. But, I mean, I think Penn State and Michigan are definitely beatable. Wisconsin's, Ohio State's probably not. So, we will pick that game in the pick'ems. We'll pick against the spread, which is 19, I think. So, woohoo. Interesting question I want to bring up to you, Austin. Since the playoff has started, there was a stat about recruiting that was just so crazy of how heavily where the 5 stars recruits are going. I think Bama has 42 on their roster right now.
Jeez.
Or maybe it was, I think Alabama was in the 50s, maybe even 63 or something like that. I think there's 70 players on the college football roster where they had 5 stars or 5 stars or 4 stars. They had 55, 60 guys. Nuts. Ohio State's at 40, Clemson's at 38, LSU is at 40 something. I mean, so my question to you is, I love the playoff personally, but is it kind of almost ruining recruiting for programs like Michigan, even Michigan State? Purdue's getting nice recruiting classes, but I mean, the bulk of the 5 stars that these programs are getting, are these kids almost looking to go to a school where they know they have a shot at the playoff and that's it?
I think that's part of it, yeah. But I mean, you look at how many people have started transferring, and a lot of the guys have been really highly touted dudes. So
it's just like they were talking about this local sports radio today, and it's really like kind of interesting when you really dive deep into it. Like, you think Michigan recruits well, right? They have like 4 or 5 stars in like the last 6 years. Ohio State has 13 and like 2. Like, I think the talent gap is bigger than it's ever been when you think of teams Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia. Georgia's one of those teams who's Kirby Smart's just getting started in Georgia. Obviously Ohio State, it's like, where do teams like us catch up? I mean, and is it even possible anymore?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there could be a steal somewhere, but to that level, probably not.
Because you've seen. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, and that's just, kids. You think about kids now. What do they like? They like winners. They like being known. Their names out there. They like being the national recognition. And what is that? Where does you get that from? You get that from being on a good team, but you get that from being on an exciting team. Flashy, or in Alabama's case, the monster defense year in and year out. You have the opportunity to be that guy, potentially play for 1 year, and you're a top 5 draft pick. I mean, no one knew who Quinnen Williams was until last year,
right?
When he was stuck behind guys, oh my God, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, who were first round draft picks. And you didn't know about Deron Payne because Jonathan Allen played in front of him. So it's like these guys, you get to be, and you're part of the Alabama vaulted defense. Like, you get to be those, the feared defense in college football. Or Clemson's case, a lot more offensive focus, but their defense is catching up. But you would say the offense has been the biggest thing, and you kind of look at their recruits, and a lot of them are a lot of offensive guys. So I think it comes down to, how talented are you? Are you exciting to watch? And then obviously I think, absolutely. It plays a huge part in how good you are, and do you have a chance to make it on a national stage? So, it's important for, teams like Michigan State and Purdue, like, have a guy like Rondale Moore that gets that attention, because
George Karlaftis, guys like that. Yeah,
exactly. You can be that guy that makes that immediate impact, because you go to these big schools, you're probably not going to play right away unless you're immensely special. You go to these other schools that, that say, here it's going to be, you're going to make an impact, and then you do it, and then other guys come. Like, with the Rondale Moore effect is very real, and that's why Purdue's recruiting classes have shot up.
Yep.
A lot of the skill positions, like, I mean, you see what they did with Rondale Moore, right? They're going to do that with me. Yeah. And now Rondale Moore's hurt, and guess what David Bell's doing? Yeah. So I think that you just got to put good product on the field for these teams to just have a chance at some of these guys. But yeah, it'll never be to the point where you catch up to them, unless like Clemson kind of just like broke through, laying good foundation with Dabo Swinney. And that's just kind of a head nod, cap tip. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
To him and his coaching staff. I mean, they make it fun. Their players love playing there for the most part. Yeah. They don't get a ton of transfers, and obviously they went from not that great to the best in the country. So, and they've got the best recruiting class going into next year. So I mean, it's doable, but very, 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 very difficult.
And even teams like Michigan State, where they put out a blueprint on how to beat teams and get to the playoff as a non-national power. But you see what happened when they got there. It was men against boys. I mean, the talent gap was Michigan State held on for dear life. I mean, yeah, Connor Cook was injured, and his throwing shoulder he had a bum shoulder, but it would not have made a difference in the slightest. Like, I mean, it was just in the play when they played Alabama. It was just it was men against boys, and it's just kind of an interesting thing I heard today. I thought I'd throw it at you. It's kind of weird to see all the recruiting changes. When you really look at the top recruits, I think 3 of the top 5 are going to Clemson.
I mean, these guys talk to each other, so you know.
For sure. It's kind of interesting to see the trend of where these schools have always dominated in recruiting, regardless, but well, not always, but as of recent memory. But it really seems to be jumping more so into bulk towards that. So I'm not in favor of this. They brought up an interesting idea on 97.1 The Ticket, which is a local radio station here in Michigan. Maybe, find a way to where you have like a 5-star recruit cap for schools somehow implemented. Obviously never going to happen. Just an interesting idea. Not something I would be for, but it's just kind of interesting to hear other people's ideas on what's going on right now in college football, especially with all these the money situation going on. Florida's thinking about passing a bill, and there's North Carolina and other of those states that are talking about putting a bill forward. So it's going to be interesting to see where the sport is in 5 years. As much as I think, God, I don't want to go down this wormhole. I'm just going to make the statement and we can move on. As much as I'm okay when I think and fully support college players getting some compensation for their name and their likeliness and everything that these NCAA makes off of them, man, would it kind of be almost a bummer for schools like us to where, at least in football, to where you have schools like Michigan State and Purdue where they're kind of, a lot of 3-star guys playing really motivated, which I guess still could happen, but, I mean, players are just going to go where the money is, which it's fine, but I mean that's a topic we will tackle at another time. But
that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah,
for sure.
That we could do probably a whole show on that. But just something I want to throw at you, man. Obviously, not a lot of preview to talk about versus Ohio State. So, but other than that, yeah, Connor Hayward's transferring. So is Brandon Boyer Randall. So, two guys who probably weren't going to see the field much anymore. Boyer Randall probably would have, but Connor Hayward was just falling off the depth chart. On to the pick'ems. Austin, as always, will lead us off with this. After last week, by the way, I took the lead by a game. I am now 10-11. Austin is 9-12.
Oof.
Not great, but I think I went 5-2 this week to really recover, and you went 3-4. So
basically, if you're a gambler, do the exact opposite of what we say, and you'll make money.
Yeah, I mean, just pick against what we pick. We try our best here, but yeah, it's not has not been a good season so far for us. But a lot of football left.
That's true.
Michigan State, number 25, Michigan State travels to number 4, Ohio State. Ohio State is giving us 17.5. Austin, Michigan State have a shot at covering. They're going to cover. What's going to happen in this game?
I already thought Ohio State was going to falter once in allowing their opponent to cover. I'm not going to make that same mistake again. Night game, home game. This defense is good. The offense is good. Sorry, Michigan State. You're not gonna cover. Ohio State's going to run you out.
I agree. I can easily see a 38-17, 42-17 type game, and that scares me to death. But I think it's very realistic. At this point, don't bet against Ohio State. I will also take Ohio State and the points. Purdue at Penn State, number 12 Penn State.
Purdue doesn't cover. All right, next.
Okay, all right. Now you don't think they're gonna cover 27.5?
No, I do not.
I think I'm gonna go with you because I picked Purdue to win last week and they failed me. So I think I'm gonna go with Penn State here and be boring. Let's get into the outside of the misery that's going to be me and Austin for sports weekend. Utah State travels to LSU. The spread's kind of crazy, which it's not out of. I think it's realistic, but I think Utah State's a solid football team. It's kind of an interesting non-conference game. LSU is giving Utah State and Jordan Love 27 points. Austin,
I think LSU runs away. I don't think Utah State covers.
See, I can see Utah State keeping it within like 24 points. So I'm going to go.
I don't know.
Disagree with you finally and go with Utah State. I'm probably wrong, but it's okay. It's okay. Austin's taking LSU, which is probably the right pick. This one, where it starts getting interesting for the next 3 out of the next 4 games are pretty interesting. Number 14, Iowa travels to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Jim Harbaugh has not really won a lot of big games. Michigan is giving Iowa 4.5. This is a tough one, Austin. Let's see what you think.
I think Iowa beats Michigan by double digits.
Woo! Wow.
And granted, double digits can mean like 10 points, but I think Iowa does it. Iowa, no one's talking about them. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a great running game. They've got a couple of really good guys on the offensive line. A first-round talent, I think it was Tristan Wirfs or whatever. Their defense, AJ Espinoza, And watching the Iowa's a very similar team to Wisconsin.
Yep.
Obviously, not Jonathan Taylor and quite as good of a line, but similar concept. I think Iowa brings a lot more experience to the table. And Jim Harbaugh's not good in big games. Michigan's not good in big games. They just have not looked good. Obviously, they crushed Rutgers, but that was freaking Rutgers. So I think Iowa goes in there and beats Michigan by double digits.
Whew. Man, I have gone back and forth on this one since I made the prompt today at like 5 p.m. Oh boy, where do I go with this? I don't trust Michigan. It's not a Michigan State thing that I dislike Michigan. I can't trust them in big games, whether it be home or away. God, I can see Michigan winning by like a field goal. Regardless, I think Iowa covers, so I will also take Iowa. So we'll see. That's going to be a fun game to watch at noon. That's a nice game to wake up at, obviously wake up around 8:30, 9, whatever the hell you wake up in the morning. Get ready for some college game day. And then come noon. What time do you guys play Penn State?
Noon.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Well, I will be watching the Michigan, Iowa, and Penn State Purdue game. Looks like I will have to torture myself for the better of the pod.
There you go.
7, so we'll take Iowa there. Number 7, Auburn goes to Florida. Auburn's giving 3 points on the road. Whew, that's another tough one, Austin. Let's see what you got, buddy.
Wait, what was the point spread? Is Florida Auburn?
Yep, Florida. Auburn is traveling to Florida, and Auburn is still giving Florida 3 points.
I think Auburn beats Florida by more than 3.
God, can we disagree tonight?
Haven't we? A couple times?
Just once. Oh. Last week we disagreed on like everything. I don't. Florida's another team I just don't trust. I think Florida and Michigan are really similar in that aspect. I just don't trust them in big spots.
I mean, just looking at Auburn, they've literally just been getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the year since their game against Oregon where they had to win. I mean, Bo Nix is just kind of coming into his own. So,
yeah. This one, Austin has picked against the Oregon Ducks before. Cal travels to Oregon to try and recover their upset at home against Arizona State. They travel to Eugene and go up against the Oregon Ducks with Justin Herbert and their 90 different uniforms. Oregon is giving them 17.5. Austin, what's going to happen here? Last time Oregon had a crazy spread of like 30-something against Nevada. You picked Nevada, and Oregon won like 77-6.
Yeah, I know.
Do you dare pick against the Ducks again? Insert some quacks there, Connor.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
Cal is scrappy. They're better than Nevada. I think Oregon's good at home, but 17.5 points. I don't think so.
All right. Well, I will.
Cal might lose this game, but it'll be.
They will lose that game, and they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns. Whew. I'm staying on my Oregon train. Okay, they might have lost to Auburn and not have a shot at the playoff, but I am staying on the Oregon train. Okay. And then the last game is probably one of the most interesting ones just because if you like offense, you're going to love this game. Number 25, Oklahoma State travels to Texas Tech. Oklahoma State's giving them 9.5. This game is going to be. I should have gave us the over and under as well and picked that just for shits and giggles. But, yeah, Oklahoma State's giving the Texas Tech team 9.5 points. Texas Tech's 2-2. Austin, what's happening here, buddy?
I don't think Tech covers. I think Oklahoma State runs away.
I agree. I think Oklahoma State's better than people give them credit for, and I'm not huge on Texas Tech. Haven't been for a while, so I will take Oklahoma State. Austin, any surprises from last week other than Maryland getting absolutely pummeled? And go ahead.
I was going to say Clemson getting put on the ropes and barely beating North Carolina. I really think North Carolina should have kicked the extra point, go to overtime. All the pressure in the world is on Clemson to perform, and you've been really tying them down basically all game. Why not continue to draw that thing out? But Mac Brown went for it on a really weird call. They lost, but that was my 1 point win. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown pass until the fourth quarter. So
that was my main issue, was the play call on the 2-point conversion. I don't disagree with either way he went. If he wanted to kick the extra point or going for 2, but that's for the play call you come up with? Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It was I was like, what the hell is this? So
it wasn't good. Any bold predictions you got week 6 coming up? Obviously, none of us think Michigan State's beating Ohio State.
No, really. I think everything's kind of clear cut.
I think Iowa beating Michigan on that road, that's a big statement. I don't think it's a bold prediction, but I think for Iowa as a program this season, I think that's a big statement for them to make if they can go out there and beat Michigan on the road.
I agree.
Which I like I said, it's tough. Michigan's so talented, like on paper, but Harbaugh's not a good coach in game, in my opinion. Shea Patterson does not look good. They can't go to McCaffrey because he's got a concussion. That defense isn't what it used to be. The O-line's okay. They got a lot of – man, they just I think that's really going to be a really fun game to watch. Other than that, though, Austin, if you don't have any last things to say, man, let's just pray for both our football teams that we can actually be entertained for a little bit on Saturday at noon and at 7 o'clock. You're going to be watching the Michigan State-Ohio State game? What are you doing Saturday night?
Yeah, I'll probably be watching it.
Until it's like 34-0, and then you're like, all right, I've had enough.
Yeah, probably. That's probably the game.
Never forget, like 2 years ago, Michigan State went 10-3, and we were playing Ohio State, and we're like, oh yeah, we got a shot, and we were down like 48-7 or something like that. It was fun.
That's what they'll do to you.
Well, in the last 10 seasons, I forgot since a certain year, I forgot what year it was. Michigan State's the only team to beat Ohio State 3 times, and that's spanned. So there's that.
Hey, well, I think everyone's counting Michigan State out. That's kind of where they live and thrive.
I was going to say
that's in the wheelhouse.
That's what they love. So D'Antonio and the team's loving all this disrespect. Whether or not that's enough to close in on the talent gap, catch Ohio State on an off day, I'm not sure. But I guarantee you one thing: you're going to see Michigan State's best out there.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, that's it for me, man. Go ahead and take us out here. There's no news in recruiting because who wants to go play for Michigan State's offense right now? Woo.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm Austin, co-host John Emmons. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard tonight, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Voice of the Fan, and also give us a listen on SoundCloud. And if you could, like our page on Facebook at Voice of the Fan and follow us on Twitter at Voice of the Fan PC. Thanks, everyone.